secret technique and like weird about it. There's no place I'm stuck on asking them. I just hope they started with us. Yes, now. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's. Yes, you know. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. No, no, no. Yeah.
We'll be getting underway in just a few minutes. There's some folks in the parking lot coming in, and Jenny would really appreciate their comfort at this time. So I just want to make sure the last few people can be settled. And thank you for your patience for streaming.
Oh. And-
We're waiting a moment for someone to return from outside the room. I want to take this opportunity to welcome those who are streaming the service, all the folks who are here. As we sometimes say, there's the Roomagog and now there's the Zoomagog. And we also have those streaming on YouTube. For anyone who would like to share video of the service of the funeral later, you're welcome. It should be archived on YouTube. And so we should be in good shape. Let's go wait for one more minute. No, it's fine. Actually, you know what would be wonderful at this time? Toby and Jenny, could I ask you to rise? And I can see that you're both wearing the ribbon of a mourner. So in our ancient practice, goes back thousands of years, when a beloved died, you would tear a part of your clothing. It was known as the tearing. And then in the stages of comforting and grief and mourning, after certain cycles of a month and a year, one would sew up the tear. And you would still wear those clothes because in ancient times, you only had a few sets of clothes. So people knew how bereaved you were by what your clothes looked like. I think we miss something today by not seeing on the outside what's going on in the inside. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to do that tearing now. And I'm going to ask you to repeat after me some Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet, which means praised be Adonai, whose presence fills the universe, who is the true judge of how this all works. Would you tear upward, sign of the heartbreak, tearing the sounds that go straight to heaven, according to the Talmud, are just like, oh, wait, I'm here to help. Actually, it's a sign of being free. I'm gonna help you. Actually, I thought mine couldn't work. Okay. This is where, you know, this is where I feel Sylvia's just saying, like, I need a middle. And before you sit down, I'd like you to turn around and look at everyone. Because these are the folks who know in a day and a month and a year and 2 years and 3 years, they know what's on the inside because they love you and they love Sylvia. So these are the folks who know what's on the inside, even when the ribbon has found a different location. And we may be seated. I just want you to know, Jenny, we all know that you are, at least you come across as a rock. You know, you're often the most adult person in the room, despite whatever your age is at any time. But that's not what we expect of you today. We expect you to be anything that you are. And we're here because we love you. L'kol zeman ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. Et la ledet ve'et la mut. Et la ta'at ve'et la kor natua. Et la roho ve'et lirpo. Et livrot ve'et livnot. Et livkot ve'et lischok. Et sefot ve'et rekod. In the words of Kohelet, known as Ecclesiastes, there's a time for every experience of us mortals under heaven. There's a time for coming into being and being born. There's a time for dying and passing through. There's a time for planting and a time for uprooting. There's a time for tearing down and a time for building up. Time for weeping and a time for laughing. A time for wailing, a time for dancing. Time for throwing stones, a time for gathering stones. time for embracing, time for being apart, time for keeping, and a time for redistributing, and a time for ripping, and there will come a time for sewing up, a time for silence, and a time for speaking. Jewish Memorial Service is all mostly speaking and tributes. We will not claim today to cover all of our love for Sylvia, but we do expect to make a good beginning by speaking. And this service is actually in two parts. First, there's this part, maybe more formal from the Bima, but we continue immediately after the memorial prayer with an invitation to all of you to share any tribute that you would like to do and make this a time of comforting in Shiva as well as a time of ripping and speaking. Jenny, would you, it's highly unusual in a situation for someone to have this strength, and we invite Jenny to come up with whatever's in her heart to say.
Dear friends, family, those from near and far who form the circle of our community of loved ones. I want to take this time to acknowledge all who are in attendance today, in person or virtually, to honor my mother, Dr. Sylvia Gordon, PhD. It's a bittersweet reality of current times to be able to include loved ones over Zoom at this time, in addition to those who are in person with us. In specific, I would like to acknowledge the presence of coworkers, friends, family, mentors, and those who represent all of you at this point, who have become family by choice. Mom always personified the notion that family is not formed by blood ties alone, but also by heart. I have never felt that more strongly than I do today. Mom did everything in her life by allowing her heart to be her guide. As a devoted psychologist, Mom made her work and her clients the center of her universe. When she spoke with family and friends, she had the ability to make one feel as if the rest of the world did not exist. She raised me to be a strong woman and to face the ups and downs of life head on, with shoulders strong enough to bear most burdens. It is because of her wisdom and love that we weathered all of the obstacles of the past 4 years together since her diagnosis. Mom's passing leaves a hole in all of our hearts. However, if I can, I'd like to take this time to attempt to soothe the ache of her departure by letting everyone know that her passage from this world was peaceful, gentle, and her journey was courageous. I know she is here today to remind us of all of her strength and to carry on in this life with love and with joy. Thank you all again for loving my mom, my family, and for me, and for being our family by choice. Thank you to the staff of Memory Lane Assisted Living Center in Ypsilanti for being the family we needed for the past 2 years, and for allowing Mom to know love, care, and dignity until the very end. This is not our final time to say farewell, but a time to reflect on all Mom has brought to us and the connections we have formed due to her love. Thank you.
Invite our brother Toby and to Edna to please come up at this time.
Sil and I had much in common. Sil loved her work. She loved her daily Trader Joe's dark chocolate squares. And what she loved the most was being Jenny's mother. And I love her brother. And I will now take a moment to read some of the thoughts that Toby has shared. Sylvia was a wonderful sister. She was always there when I needed her, whether it be for spiritual or emotional support. Her advice was always sound and logical and helped me move forward at different stages in my life. We love her very much, and she will be dearly missed.
I'd like to express condolences on behalf of all of us to Sylvia's daughter, Jenny, to her brother, Toby, and to Edna. Thank you. Also to her nephews and nieces, Becky, Avi, Susie, Danny, and JC. And importantly, at this sacred moment, I repeat what you said, Jenny. Sylvia was someone who knew and practiced the wisdom that family is not just inherited, but it is chosen. I express my deep condolences to you who have been going this life journey with Sylvia, you who were her friends and chosen family. And my condolences to Brittany and to Deborah and others who chose her as friends and staff of Memory Lane. Sylvia's childhood was not easy. The previous generation had moved from Brooklyn to Lakewood, New Jersey, when Sylvia and Toby's aunt, Aunt Sylvia, for whom Sylvia was named, contracted rheumatic fever and eventually died. Sylvia and Toby's father was a truck driver. He was always working, trucking eggs from country farms, curiously often owned and run by Holocaust survivors, to the Lower East Side. Sylvia's mother, if I may say, struggled terribly, psychologically, especially after Toby was born. And as Toby explains, and I thought quite generously, to the extent that the children received attention at all, it was directed at Toby. In a way, the boys were favored as little princes in those days. Not to say that Sylvia didn't find her way to respond, like dressing Toby as Queen Esther for the Purim program. And in her own way, by excelling with straight A's at school, regardless of notice. But in truth, we can only imagine Sylvia's life and her situation throughout her childhood. As she would explain later, when you experience trauma when you're young, you either live life hobbled and wounded, or you get tough. I got tough, she said. Perhaps it was Sylvia's childhood that shaped her choice to become such a devoted and accomplished clinical psychologist. An expert in the field of marital counseling, she helped couples find their way to strength and to wholeness. We are left to put ourselves in Sylvia's shoes, or should I say chair, in her home or office, around the corner. I always get disoriented. I'm pointing to the Torah and to her, helping people learn the skills and road to health and toughness from lives of hurt and trauma. We come to see her professional work, I think, today, especially as a life of tikkun olam, of using her experience in life and her chosen skills to leave the world a much better place than she found it. In this work and in her choices, like leading a workshop on depression at the Jewish Community Center, comes into perspective in such an interesting way today. Hers was a vitality that came with a seriousness that this is life, and you only get to enjoy the things that you work for. Her message is like the one upcoming in the Torah where the Torah scrolls are rolled just before Rosh Hashanah, which is the tough love message: choose life. When Jenny was 5, her mom would say, "Just so you know, in life you don't get to play." This harsh wisdom, a mixture of her own hurt and her own healing, formed Jenny's life. Sylvia was the taskmaster. Before Jenny could do anything like go out with friends, she had to complete Sylvia's list of tasks. She had to do it first, and so often the answer was no, because the checklist was not completely finished. But after high school, things changed. Sylvia announced that her parenting all along was to prepare Jenny for a life of independence, and she did. She offered Jenny the choice of either getting a car and living at home or living in a dorm without a car. Jenny took the dorm. She figured she could take the bus. Jenny still marvels at her mom's fierce determination of purpose here. After an entire life of the two of them together, impressively, from taskmaster, her mom let her go. This doesn't mean that Sylvia's presence and vitality weren't always active. Sylvia's love was a tough, fierce love that never relented. If Jenny loved somebody, Sylvia did too. If someone hurt Jenny, Sylvia never forgave them. To Jenny's friends, Sylvia was enthusiastic, perhaps overly enthusiastic too, in her words, Sylvia's words, offer my professional advice for free. She was always that fierce, loving presence. When Jenny wanted to go to Korea, it was, "This is life, go." And go Jenny did, with her mother's full and loving support. When Jenny had her successes, Sylvia's pride was twofold, both in Jenny and the credit she herself deserved in how she raised her. Maybe she was just a little bit more honest about that than the rest of them. Sylvia's love for Jenny was love to the utmost degree. They were a team of two. Hardworking, they also knew how to be a pair, almost of sisters play. Given Sylvia being the movie buff, there were the many movie nights together, especially Chick Flick Shabbat. There were the Jewish Christmases together. For those who don't know, that means Chinese food and movies. And there was the daily talking on the phone. And when Sylvia's dementia began, and then the pandemic set in, Jenny and Sylvia's relationship entered its third phase. If the first phase was the clear lines of mother taskmaster and a child learning how to live life and choose life, the second phase was the same fierce mother love, but this time two strong, independent adults. Now the team of two went, in Jenny's words, to an even higher level. Jenny moved back in, and Jenny was the mother and Sylvia the daughter. Unless one has done it themselves, they do not know the tremendous love and caring and sacrifice Jenny showered on her mother. She fed her, she kept her safe, she took care of her physical needs, she watched over her. They were together all of the time. With COVID and her mother's condition, Jenny couldn't chance seeing anybody except for Sylvia. In the house around the corner was the team of two. In addition to the constant care, now it was Jenny who was initiating movie night, except now Chick Flick Friday night happened every single day, sometimes all day long. Jenny tells me that she will always remember this as a most beautiful time. When it was no longer safe and possible, Jenny found memory lane. To say this was miraculous might even be an understatement. The care of Brittany and Tim and of others, the friends made there, the beautiful environment that is truly like home, a house of loving kindness. And then folks at Memory Care performed a miracle themselves. Sylvia is someone who always used her mind for the betterment of others, and she wanted to donate her brain to medical research. Given her condition, it was really a 1 in a million chance that any institute would take it. Memory Lane didn't give up, and call after call, it was finally accepted. Was it at Harvard? And Sylvia's gift will serve to aid in the work to chase away the cruel affliction of dementia. And there's no greater final gift, I think, that she wanted to give. The story of your relationship, especially given where the Torah is open to at this time, at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, so mirrors the relationship of Moshe and the Jewish people. Moshe had the parental love of a fierce parent. Rule after rule after rule. When you didn't finish one set of tasks, we were ready for another 30 or 50 mitzvot to come down the line. You need these because when you get to that land, you need to be able to fend for yourselves. You need to have the strength and the courage and the skills. And I hope to be there with you watching, but I don't know what the plan is for me yet. And then the 40 years in the wilderness, slowly started to become like equals, right? Understanding each other. But anytime God had a problem with the people, and it happened a lot, Moses was there to defend them. They're mine, they're yours, we owe them, we're going to take care of them, and stood by them. And then at the transition to the other world, Moshe could not follow, as Moshe so deserved, to see his beloved's life continue in that life of independence and future. And the Torah states, playing on a particular wordplay as the rabbis do, that Moses died with a kiss on his lips, knowing that he could not follow into that future, but knowing that his presence would be felt. His work would be within them. As she transitioned to the other world, Sylvia had somehow managed to grab a teddy bear left on her bed. It was very strange given the limitation of her physical powers at that time, formed something of a mystery. She managed to grab the teddy bear that was behind her on the bed, and her soul passed from this world, clutching it directly to her heart with a look of total peace and happiness on her face. Like you, I suspect that she passed from this world transitioning to the happiest moment of her life, clutching Jenny to herself, mother and daughter, an eternal bond. May Sylvia's soul continue to be woven together in that bond, as in the words of the El Malei Rachamim prayer we do right now, attest to forever. May her memory be for a blessing. And may Jenny always feel her close, their love and their pride in one another. Please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen v'Hamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'Ma'alot Kedoshim, U'Tehorim, Kezohar Harakia, Mahasirim, L'nishmat Sora Shendo, Bat Shmuel V'Nesham, Shahacha Le'olama, Began Eden Tehei Menuchata, Ana Ba'al Harachamim, Hastireha B'Seter Knafecha Le'olamim, Utror Bitzor HaChayim, Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachlata, V'tanuach B'Shalom, Al Mishkavaha, V'Nohama, and we say, Amen. Exalted God, pure source of flowing compassion, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. To the soul of Sylvia Gordon, Sor Shandel, Bat Shmuel Vanesha, who has returned to her eternal home in you. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace, as her soul continues to be bound up, woven together in the bond of life in this world, and for those awaiting her in the next. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We may be seated. I'm hoping you're saying right now to yourself, Rabbi, you missed so much. There are so many things that need to be said about Sylvia. That was my plan all along. So at this time, I'm going to invite you to share those thoughts. I'm going to start with Rabbi Daberson, if he would honor us.
Well, let me begin by saying that you might have missed something, but what you said was so beautiful. And you and Jenny and Edna speaking for Toby. And I can't hope to say something as meaningful, but I want to tell you a personal story. We know that the house is around the corner. We pointed over here, right? I think so. Well, if you go a little bit further, you come to our house. And when a rabbi walks to synagogue on Shabbat morning, I can speak for myself anyway, all that I'm thinking about is what's going to happen at the service, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to teach, who's going to be there, et cetera. And the last thing that I wanted when I was doing that was to be interrupted, except for Sylvia. Because so many times, and Jenny and I talked about this the other day, when I walked to synagogue, somehow the timing worked more often than not, that Sylvia was out taking a walk. And we stood there and chatted for a moment, and I didn't mind for a minute interrupting my thoughts. Because, and I love to quote this line when it's appropriate, this line from Pirkei Avot, where Shammai says to greet everyone b'sever panim yafot, with a pleasant countenance, with a smile. Her smile when she saw me, and when she saw everybody, I'm not singling myself out, was just so comforting and so inspiring. And it really set off Shabbat morning in a good way. And it happened quite often, as I told you the other day. And you told me you sometimes, even when I did, Jenny said that when I didn't see that, you saw me from inside. But nonetheless, I just want people to remember that for all the wisdom, and she was very wise, and for all the strength, and she was very strong, and for all of the abilities that she had as a counselor, and they're clear, she was just such a pleasant person with such a smile and such warmth. And that's the thing that to me stands out. So I want to tell you and Toby and Edna that my thoughts are with you. We will always remember her. I should also say this, remember your grandfather as well. Remember your father who visited so often, and we managed to overcome our baseball rivalries to at least talk with each other kindly and respectfully, seriously, that we had. So it's just such an honor to be able to pay tribute to her. And I will always remember her smile and her kindness. May her memory be for a blessing.
And the folks who will maybe share a slide we didn't hear about, or just the person. And some people may prefer to speak from their seat, but because so many people are screaming, I have the courage to be able.
Well, I do know a side of Sylvia that probably most of you don't know. And I'm here with the friend Marlene Clark. We're both from the Detroit area. And we worked with Sylvia out at Oakland University before she came to Ann Arbor. The funny thing for me is I'm from Ann Arbor. Born and raised, went to Mac school. And she was from Boston. She was from New Jersey, and then I think she went to Boston University and came here with her husband Joel. And got a job at Oakland University at a women's center called the Continuum Center, which was I think she probably started there at about 1970. I've known Sil since 73. And it was a active feminist center. Sil was very progressive, and she was young compared to most of the people involved. I was one of the younger people too. We were all kind of educated, upper middle class women who were looking for change in a time of tumult. And she was a leader. In a way, she was probably, well, there was another woman there, Eleanor, but she was probably the leader. And we went through this training to be peer counselors and to lead a program called Investigation into Identity. So it might be, it was just an interesting time, and women were starting to look to know themselves. And she was magnificent in that training program. She'd been through the National Training Labs. She's done some interesting things, and she brought it forward into her work in training us. And she was at the center for, I don't know, till the 80s anyway. And I stayed there and worked and then moved on. And she eventually moved to Ann Arbor. And Jenny, one of the things about Sylvia, she was very goal-directed. And she wanted to come to Ann Arbor, and she was at the Ann Arbor Center for the Family. There might be some people here who worked with her. And she loved it there, by the way. But in her mind, she was going to have a child. And she went through a lot to have that child. They went down to, with her dad, I forgot what country, Peru. They went down to Peru. And I really encouraged her. I will say that it was a different time. And she's so proud of you. Yes, anyway. So I wanted to add that part of her. She was progressive. She was a leader. She was kind of ahead of her time in so many ways. Well, thank you. I didn't think I would get up here and talk, but that part needed to be said.
I was a very young girl when I knew Sylvia because Jenny's my babysitter. By the way, I can see where she gets her patients from. I was not easy. But if I remember anything about Sylvia, and I think Rabbi Davidson said it the best, I remember her smile, her warm embrace, and the way that she was a person who could come in and light up a room. She knew everybody, and everybody knew her. And she's just someone you don't forget. She treated you as if she's known you her whole life. And I would like to thank her for giving me Jenny. Because I could have asked for a better babysitter. And thank you, Susan.
Hello. This is, of course, a very sad occasion, but a very meaningful and positive one as we celebrate Sylvia. My name is Irv Leon. Like Sylvia, I was a colleague, a clinical psychologist, and even though I didn't work with her directly at the Child and Family Center, I had an opportunity when we would talk about our work to see her compassion, her care, her concern, her devotion to her clients. It was very, very powerful. I remember when she was setting up her office in her home, she had showed my wife and I the office itself, the care that was put in constructing it. And it became clear to me that what she was doing was trying to show the kind of secure, safe, comfortable environment that makes change possible. And she certainly did that. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote for Sylvia's 70th birthday. And I didn't consult with with Rabbi Dobrusin, although it seems like it came from the same place. The poem is called Sylvia's Smile. It is warm. It is light. It's inviting. Sylvia smiles, welcomes you in. It exudes her loving life, relishing friends, realizing dreams. Yet it knows its place tucked away when consoling those in sorrow or helping the despondent smile again. But it will return as sure as sunlight, dispersing all wrinkles away even at 70. Defying nature, somehow shining even brighter when she looks upon Jenny, her pride, her world. In an age that moves too fast, this was written in when she was 70 years old, so it's become outdated in terms of how fast the world moves. When Smarty Pants Alexa remembers more than our brains can ever tell, it's nice to have someone to depend on. A smile that says all you need to know. And I look forward to keeping Sylvia with me by remembering that smile. It's kind of glued into my memory cells.
Hi, my name is Dion Fisher. Sylvia and I were meant to be friends. And the way I know this is that we both, without knowing each other, as Jewish clinical psychologists in our early 40s, decided to have a child as a single mother. A mutual acquaintance named Sylvia Hacker told us that we should meet each other because we were Jewish psychologists, single mothers. But we were way too busy being Jewish single psychologists, mothers, to get in touch. One day, my daughter, she was about two and a half, had a makeup class at Gymboree. And we were walking into the building and there was another woman and a child and we started chatting. It was Sylvia Hacker's friend. And we became like family. We supported each other. We became like sisters. Our daughters became like sisters. My daughter, Marissa, very sad she could not be here today, fly in from her home. For many years, we drove up to Camp Michigania together, the University of Michigan alumni family camp, shared a cabin. So we were, as I say, we were like sisters. Another funny story is Jenny had a series of lovely nannies. And Sylvia was very close with them, but she wrote into their contract, I talk to people all day, so I don't want to talk after 9 o'clock at night. But she would call me after 9 o'clock at night. And we would talk long into the night, sharing stories of parenting and the stresses and giving advice. She gave wonderful advice. Anyway, I've been missing Sylvia for many years, ever since she got dementia. Missing our talks and her good advice. But something about her being gone at last is even sadder. And I've been extremely sad the last few days.
I would like to read something from Memory Lane, which meant so much to the family that she was safe and so well cared for. But I just want to say one thing, you know, when a person has dementia or any neurological disease, they're still a person and they still who they are in their heart and their soul. And that's what Sylvia was. And that's what this letter says. Our sweet Sylvia, which they called Sweet Pea. Let the sun shining down over us bring a sense of warmth, a touch of grace. Sylvia, being Sylvia, made a great mother, a great friend, a great listener, and always had a smile that would light up the room. At night or day, she was the light for so many people throughout her journey, always helping so many others to ease their worries. Her listening was one of her greatest powers, but her biggest power was her smile, as has been said here over and over again. Let this be proof to everyone. Sometimes words are not always necessary, as a smile is. Someone's smile can last forever. At Memory Lane, together, we had so many fun times, bringing joy with her, laughter, and we were always looking for that Sylvia smile.
I wondered if anybody'd be able to see me if I stood behind. My name is Susan Kelly, and I met Sylvia at the Ann Arbor Center for the Family. And we became good friends. We referred clients back and forth to each other. And one day she said to me, I have a favor to ask. And I said, sure. She said, I think I'm going to adopt a child. I said, you're going to what? And she said, she's in Peru and I'm going to get her there. And my father, Sam, is coming with me. And he was so happy to be part of this journey. And she said, would you stay in my house for a few days while I go to Peru? And I said, I'd be honored. And the days stretched into a few weeks and a few weeks more. And after 6 weeks, a friend and I hung a banner on the house that said, welcome home, Jenny. And her mother, Sylvia, and it's so true. Her smile was amazing. Her grin as big as this, plus having been on planes and trains and all over the place for days, she was still so enthusiastic. And she brought Jenny in, and I'll never forget how Sam looked over at Jenny and Sylvia looked over at Jenny, and the peace and the welcome and the happiness was so amazing. So Jenny, you were so welcomed, and I know that your mom forever, wanted you to know that she loved you and went to great lengths to get you. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Vilma Mesa. Sorry. Compared to everybody who has shared, I think we haven't had that much contact with Sylvia or Jenny, except for Seders that we regularly do, thanks to Eleanor and Mark. And we were alternating places to the Seders. So that's how I think we have longed for each other for a long time. So what I want to share, besides the smile, is that when my mother came here, so there is a lot of parallels between Jenny's life and my life, and Sylvia's strength and my mom's strength.
But when my mom came here, it was immediately apparent to me, with even though I had no idea, that my mom has some mental issues, and I had no idea how to deal with that. And I met for coffee with Sylvia maybe 2 or 3 times, and I was desperate. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea, and the not advice. I mean, she listened to me. She asked so many questions, and through those, maybe once is at a coffee shop and another one is at her house, she was able to make me understand so many things about what was going on that I would never have been able to do it on my own. So that is one piece about Sylvia that I, developed this strong connection, because how everybody has described she was by herself and she raised Jenny. It was very similar in my case. My mom raised me by herself, etc., etc. So that many parallels. So that was one thing. And the other thing is that I remember being, and these sailors, so envious of the relationship between you and your mom, because it was obvious, so much love, transparency, directness that I don't have with my mother. I mean, I literally don't. And my mom is already sort of gone, sort of. So it's really hard for me. So for me to understand, as Sylvia said, you have to let go. It's not going to be what you want it to be. Like, that was revelatory to me. And understanding, like what Rabbi was saying, that you become the parent of your parents, and understanding that transition was thanks to Sylvia. So just know that I still continue being envious of the relationship, but that I've learned so much about the love that transpires between a mother and a girl and a daughter, and that is also valuable. And of course, the last thing I want to say, when we celebrated her 75th birthday, we were there in memory lane, and I just sat down and said goodbye, and of course the smile, and I was like, I just texted my family. She gave me this smile, and I was pretty sure she's doing that for everybody, but it felt that she was just smiling for me.
Anyone else would like to share? No, I told Jenny this wasn't going to be sad, and of course it's sad. There is a celebration.
Thank you for everyone who shared. Thank you for everyone who's attended. This is heartwarming.
I know.
My name is Mark Comstock, and my brother Gordy was at Memory Lane around the same time that Sylvia was. Can I speak up a little bit more? Okay.
It's because you're so wonderfully tall, but they're used to me.
Okay. Gordy went into Memory Lane a little bit ahead of Sylvia, and he passed away earlier this year, and had the same situation, and was also lovingly cared for by Memory Lane. I had a chance to spend quite a bit of time with Sylvia, and I got to meet Jenny, which was absolutely fabulous. And I do know the staff, and I know who actually wrote from Memory Lane very, very well. I had a chance to become family with them, and actually Jenny and Sylvia were part of our Memory Lane family, and we did so many things. I want to say that baking cookies and so many fun things that we did, and Gordy, as he was a little further along than Sylvia, was a little harder to get engaged, and both of them were so wonderful in helping to get him engaged as well. Jenny, you had marvelous powers of making him smile too. And last but not least, the Sylvia smile. You've heard it all along. It was permeated the whole room. I mean, it was so genuine and so caring. She was a great listener too. She spoke very infrequently, but whatever she said had great substance, which always was so impressive to me too. I miss her.
Hi, guys. My name is Vesna Chadikowska. I was Jenny's nanny in 2001. And you know what? She didn't need a nanny, but Sylvia was such a great mom that she worked so hard and she provided the luxury and a nanny to be just so that she can have somebody to be her friend. And we did lots of activities. She was not a baby or anything when I was her nanny. She was in middle school, I believe, but you know, Sylvia was a mother that provided organization, structure, and showed her hard work. And she showed her that you work hard and you can have somebody to be there with you. And my role was, you know, to be there to go biking with Jenny. So she wanted to stress the importance of healthy eating, exercise, and, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we ate healthy, fruit salad, fruit salads, veggie salads, and it was amazing. But she was really teaching you, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, we have kids, but I don't wake up and feed my children the healthy kind of like what she was feeding you know what I mean? And maybe I should, but so no, like, she worked hard and she was so organized. And last year, Jenny called and her caregiver, was it from Memory Lane, that came, we had at our restaurant, because we own a restaurant in Canton. It was Jenny. Yeah. So it was Jenny and Jennifer and Sylvia came. And we had brunch at our restaurant. And, she didn't really remember who I was, but she loved the food and she had a smile on her face the whole time. And she really enjoyed herself. And that was last summer, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to say, Jenny, your mother loved you a lot. And like I said, I was the luxury. You don't get nannies in middle school, okay? But she made sure that she provided you that just in case you needed it. If there was anything to help you with schoolwork or extracurricular activities or whatever it was. So yeah, it was a pleasure being part of that. It was a great learning for me because I was going to school at the time at Eastern Michigan. Yep. So I was Jenny's nanny and I went to school and did track and all that. And yeah, thank you, Jenny. We love you. But I was just thinking now, I'm like, man, it was Jenny and her mom. And I know you have the whole community, but we're there for you, Jenny. If you ever need it, you know us. So we love you.
Speak to that. People hear me all right? Yeah. I'm Rob Pastick, and I'm a psychologist with the Sylvia for many years at the Ann Arbor Center for Family. Matter of fact, I was in a supervision group with her, and I liked her so much that I asked her to come to the center to join. And she was, I think, living in Bergen, so she had to move to Ann Arbor to do this. It was and she's a very brave person. And I got to know Sylvia, and then in about 1988, a few years ago, I was asked to write a book about men. It was a couple pages long. Sylvia was gifted to working with men. A lot of therapy was with women, but Sylvia really got men, understood men. So I asked her to write a chapter of the book. And I think one thing that came out, I want to bring out, Sylvia was a magnificent writer. She really put together this chapter. I think it was on men and mothers, which is very important. And she did a tremendous job. Didn't need much editing, it was just right there. And so I want to bring out that. And also Sylvia was a brilliant person. She had very high intellect. She could understand concepts. She got people. It's a really unique kind of emotional intelligence that Sylvia was gifted with. One other thing I want to say is that I was in co-therapy. We did a lot of couple therapy together. And we would have some really clients that, and most of them were the men who were kind of emotionally abusive. The women, it was hard and so did dig in, and then a couple would leave and we would just start laughing. You know, she got it. It's also like she let go and enjoy, what we were doing and it's a process of it. So, she was at the center for several years and all of us really enjoyed, working with
As you come up, I'll just let people know who are streaming. I can't capture the beauty of that tribute, but I will say what a beautiful tribute to her brilliant writing, her emotional intelligence, the writing of the chapter about men, maybe men and mothers, and Toby, maybe there is something in there about dressing younger brothers up as Esther, and the effect of because of their mothers, and also that ability to laugh because the work that she did and that you were doing, and that so many here were partners in her doing is can be very, very challenging work. And sometimes you just have to sit back and laugh your head off. Thank you so much.
Just a little bit of background to what I'm going to say. One of the most important books that I ever read in my life was called The Courage to Be. And it was written by Paul Tillich to a class at NYU. And in that book, he talked about the 3 existential anxieties that we all face, which are the anxiety of the death of the body, the anxiety of the death of the mind, and also the anxiety of death of the spirit. And I bring this up because Sylvia, essentially with her life and the way she conducted herself and her relationships, she intuitively understood not only the existence of those anxieties, but also the coping mechanisms and the way that you have to confront, but also accept and then move forward and find a path to continue your existence. And that was the thing that I'm a neighbor. I'm just across the street, so I wasn't in therapy with Sil but I knew her fairly well through her adoption of Jenny and just neighborly interaction. But like so many other people that have talked here, her spirit and her essential courage of life came through, whether she was walking and talking to somebody in passing, whether she was working, whether she was confronting perhaps a house problem, a basement that flooded or something like that. These are things that just her demeanor, she didn't lose her temper, she didn't lose her cool. And she also had this sense of priority. The idea of personal relationships, meaning and transcendence. So for me, she was just a true example or disciple, if you will, or image of courage on all of these things, a tribute to her faith, a tribute to her family, a tribute to her willingness to face life's difficulties. And that's what I'm carrying away, is that sense that I can try to at least mirror some of that courage that she displayed.
My name is Marlene. Excuse me. I have so enjoyed listening to all of you who have spoken, extolling the wonderful characteristics and
talent and artistic abilities of Sylvia. We were the closest of friends for about 50 years. And I first met her when I went to the Continuum Center, which Sydney referred to as a participant. And then I went through, and at that time, she was the assistant director of the Continuum Center, which was overseen by Oakland University in Rochester. And then I went through the training to be a group leader and then a program coordinator. And after that, we got together. I was going through a divorce. She was going through a divorce. And she asked me to have dinner with her one night. And interestingly, I thought about, well, gee, I was a participant and you were the leader. Are there boundaries that should not be crossed? But it was so easy for her to invite me to spend time with her. And then we did. We were very close. We did a number of things. She liked the theater and concerts and cinema, museums, and we did all of those things over the years. And we went through the trials and tribulations of passages in each of our lives. She desperately wanted to have a child of her own. And she worked it out that she did. It's also been mentioned that she and her dad went to Peru and they stayed there for 6 weeks. Her dad was very proud to be there with his daughter, who was getting her daughter. And when they came back, a month or so after that, I had a baby shower for Jenny at my home in West Bloomfield. So I did live in the suburbs of Detroit and she was in Ann Arbor, but we maintained contact all the time. We spoke almost every day. And every New Year's, we had a plan that I would come into Ann Arbor and stay for the weekend. So I would come in New Year's Eve day and we'd go to the theater in the afternoon, then have dinner and go to the cinema, I should say, at night. Stayed over. Then the next day we had a big breakfast, went to see another movie, and then I drove home. So we really saw 3 films over 2 days, and we did that every year. She and people have spoken about her smile, and it really was an amazing smile. She was always looking for humor in anything that she did. She was very open. Her heart was open. She was not judgmental. Anyone who saw her and saw her smile felt that they could go right up to her and that she would envelop them, maybe not physically, but the smile was definitely encompassing. She was very bright and she was a skilled therapist. She helped so many people. And now she's gone, but not forgotten. And I know that her memory will always be with me, as it will be with everyone here.
Hi, my name is Manal Asi. I'm a psychiatrist at the Ann Arbor Center for the Family. And I got to know Sylvia at a professional level, not at a personal level. So it's nice to meet you, Jenny. I didn't think I was going to speak today, but I definitely wanted to be here today to really capture something about Sylvia that I got to know her at a professional level, and that is the miracle worker that she was when it came to couples counseling. And anytime I would refer couples to her, sometimes they were couples where I thought it's hopeless. But if anybody could help them, Sylvia could help them. And then there was this one couple when Sylvia came and said, there's no hope for this couple. And I knew there's no one on earth who could help this couple. For sure, if Sylvia could not do it, no one could do it. So that's the part that I'm going to miss about her is I'm going to miss someone where I know that if I send my couples, they're going to be in good hands. So nice. Thank you.
like to have one more and then maybe retire to the house, or anybody who may not be able to share at a different time. There are more shadows for the next few days. Well, let me explain. That I'd like to explain that Shiva does continue. So immediately following Mourner's Kaddish, those who would like to drive or walk over to the house and comfort the family are welcome to do so. And tomorrow there'll be basically family, and especially Jenny every day will be sitting from 11 a.m. on at the house. And she's like, anytime you want to go over and be with me, you know, that would be very welcome. That goes all the way through Wednesday. And then we periodically have services so we can say the Mourner's Kaddish. And the service requires that we have at least 10 adults. And so it's a way of gathering community together at specific times. And so our focus tomorrow will be 3 o'clock, again at this time at the house, and then again at 7:30 at the house. And at those times, Toby and Edna are going to be able to join us before they have to fly out. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, the time will be 7:30 for the service, but you can come before so we could talk a bit, and or maybe it was maybe we said 7. 7 meaning that, or come earlier, but 7 to like maybe gather and share some stories like this and things that come back to mind. And then 7:30 we can do a very brief service and pray. So I'm going to make a command decision. This is the first Shiva, which means we need to pray now in order to have the Mourner's Kaddish. But I'm going to use executive authority to abbreviate the service. So in time, rather than the 12-13-minute service, I'm going to abbreviate it using a halachic loophole. And we're going to do a psalm, which allows us to say the Mourner's Kaddish. Albie, would you do me a favor? Will you take 2 of those books that are right on that seat, or Rebecca? See those 2 fold and bring them over here to Edna, Toby, and Jenny, so that they have the Mourner's Kaddish ready. I'm going to ask you guys to open in that book to page 39 and page 40, so you have the Mourner's Kaddish ready. And in advance of doing the Kaddish together, I will do a psalm. Given the reference to also one of my favorite theologians and thinkers, Paul Tillich, we'll share that this time of year we say Psalm 27. Which closes with, I will find the ability to trust that I will see God's goodness in the land of the living. And I will be strong and I will take courage and place my hope in God's Spirit in this world. And I will share one other psalm so we can say the Kaddish. I will share a selection from Psalm 90 in the translation by Stephen Mitchell. Teach us how short our time is. Let us know it in the depths of our souls. Show us that all things are transient. In that way, they are like dreams. And that beyond heaven and earth, this is only you. Fill us in the morning with your wisdom. Shine through us all our lives. Let our hearts grow transparent in the radiance of your love. Show us how precious each day is, and teach us to be fully here, and let the work of our hands prosper for our brief span on earth. I'll ask everyone to rise for the Mourner's Kaddish. You may not know it by heart, but we have the family ready to go. I'm going to find it myself. Would you mind if I tell people, since they don't have it in front of them, the translation? Translation is this. May we come to feel God's presence increasing and holiness a reality in this world. May we come to see God's taskmaster list as good ways to live, and make God's intentions for our world a reality in our lifetime and in each one of our days, so that God's bounty can be felt forever and ever. May we find in the future coming, now and in every day, blessing, beauty, and wonder, transcendence, exaltation, and honor, endurance, and the realness of God's goodness in this world, even though it goes beyond any possible words of gratitude, celebration, poetry, or consoling that has ever been uttered. May a great peace find its way from the heavens and reinvigorate our lives below. May the force which makes for peace in the transcendent realms bring peace to us and to all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen. And now in the Aramaic. Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almayim. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh. V'yit hadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. And let's sing the final line. Oseh shalom b'imroma. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. May Sylvia's memory continue to bring blessings to this world. And we say, Hamakom yanachem etchem b'toshav Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you. May we all comfort you, along with all others who are grieving at this time. That comforting and continue and presence and visiting continues immediately following the service. If you want to head over to the house, or tomorrow from 11 on with specific gatherings for prayer and Kaddish at 3 and at 7. And then again on Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock. May we continue to hold all of you in our thoughts, Sylvia in our thoughts and Jenny in our thoughts. And may we go in peace. And we say,
Well,